So we just head off there, will we?
Extend yours to get the usual warning.
Yeah, 6 minutes. Yes. So to start, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the country throughout Australia, recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture, pay our respect to the elders past, present and emerging. The project we're presenting today is Stage 2, Rushall Park. Rushall Park is a small heritage village in North Fitzroy, centred around the edge of the Mary Creek and the train line, obviously, Rushall Park Station. The village was planned in 1887 and has been run by the old Colonists of Victoria for over 150 years, so effectively it's the oldest retirement village in Victoria. They provide housing to people in need, typically off the wait list from the DHHS. It is included in the Victorian Heritage Register, so heritage is required for the works as well. It's a bit of a mixed bag. It is its signature piece obviously is Copping Court, which is the last two slides. Exceptional buildings of exceptional interest. This is the oldest building. I think it's 1883, bluestone by Copping. He was a comedian and philanthropist, which I thought was an unusual combination. However, the building stock is varied. They've effectively been building buildings every decade for the 70 years thereafter. Some architectural niceties, and some, I suppose, as they approach the 70s, some rare examples of buildings that aren't particularly well designed. It has a huge history, obviously, a sense of community, and continues to do so as part of their offer. The site that we're working with is to the northern edge, I suppose the north being the sort of angular side towards the train side. The site is ringed by a significant hedgerow, quite self-contained and is fine-grained. So of course the fundamental challenge in an urban design sense is how do we work with a village that is otherwise fine-grained, with a site that's sort of approximately 300 metres long and 6 metres wide. It was used as a car park, so you see it there on the left-hand side. It faced onto the railway line, poor interface, ageing building stock of questionable character, backyard services and elm trees which are effectively weed-like. So our approach was to organise the building around effectively sort of a hedge form, a back of row, and to plant villas into that space, embed it with landscape, and then develop those units across the site in 3 building forms, building A to the left, building B to the middle, and building C knuckled in the corner of the site to the right. Quite strong sectional characteristics, and then building up obviously a combination of apartments of 1 and 2 bedrooms. Keep in a minute there, but the interface to the railway is that hedge formed in articulated brick with significant sort of characteristic brick form, 3-dimensional, picking up both the shadow of the day, but you'll see there in the lighter mortar shade most of the history of the place. The main entrances are really the significant pieces, the contribution to the street. So it is a street, vehicular street, but also obviously used for walking through the village, which still is the predominant means of movement.
The design response looked at 3 key ideas. The idea of the row house and duplex villa, which occurs throughout the site, the hedge, the foreground landscape, and the idea of ornament, which is varied, obviously, on each building throughout the site. So the row house or duplex villa looks at the massing scale and rhythm of the existing housing typology, and as well as the streetscape character. Breaks in the form give individual units expression and allows for more intimate private moments. The hedge considers the existing landscape setting and the opportunity to employ vegetation to relate to the exotic landscape character of the village and also engage with the historic narrative. We thought of the building as an inhabited hedge by integrating planting and textured brick. And compositional ornamental facade considers the role of pattern and ornamentation of the heritage building stock, seeking a contemporary interpretation to create visual connections with the existing buildings without resorting to imitation. Our own process introduces another layer of invention which talks about unifying built forms through materiality and colour, and also speaks of community, something that brings a bunch of buildings together, unifies them. This is just a streetscape study. So a key part of the design are the glazed lobbies, which have direct visual connection through to the rail side. So they're light-filled lobbies, lift lobbies, and also so a cluster of 4 to 6 units share these lobbies. The apartments are set up in twos to replicate the duplex typology that's throughout the site.
Sorry, 2 minutes left.
Sure. So the brick obviously is a richly varied characteristic to the site, and the other elements obviously are the expressed balconies, picking up the ball noses of the heritage buildings, and the garden pergola wrapping around from the north and anchoring either end of buildings A, B and C. Rooftop views to the city are significant, and obviously rooftop views or views back to the development from Copping Court are significant. The third building, C, is nestled in the corner and starts to play with the juxtaposition of form of the existing buildings, and this is where it sits most closely to some of the existing fabric. It creates a small courtyard which is used by the existing residents in the buildings, but also the new residents in building C, anchored around the gathering courtyard and upper terraces which also look back out into that, offering a sense of community obviously within the building but within the greater village. Like all our projects, of course, they're taken over by the individuals, and we're finding particularly these large balcony spaces are all assets to the residents. I suppose places for contemplation as well as occupation. So the street, the entrance and the communal gathering space that Catherine just spoke about, these light-filled garden rooms that anchor each building are quite significant. They're anchored around these small communal stairs that wrap up into the building, seating at each place, views out towards the village, views into the sky, but of course views to the activity in Mary Creek and Rushall Park station, which is significant. So this little waiting area is halfway down one of the corridors, the cup of tea spot between 2 or 3 residents where they can sit and watch the world go by. And then at the end of the day, obviously the presence between my front door, our gathering hallway, and each person's individual village facing apartment facing back into the village.
And also, particularly this image, the end of a vista from within the villages.
8 minutes.